Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Longevity Lab. Today we're going to talk about NAD. In recent years, a lot of new medical interventions emerged, causing huge public traction, creating major industries. And one of these interventions are NAD. NAD injections, NAD infusions, liposomal NAD, you name it. So today I'm going to answer some questions when it comes to NAD. So what is NAD? What does it do to our bodies? NAD is a molecule that our bodies produce, recycle, and reuse again. And without NAD, we cannot live. It is involved in major functions when it comes to, for example, energy production in the mitochondria. So NAD is very crucial in promoting ATP production within the electron transport chain on the mitochondria. Another important NAD function is being cofactor for certain crucial enzymes like the sirtuins, which you may have heard about recently. They're often nicknamed as the longevity enzymes, actually. So they're responsible for functions like gene expression, metabolic flexibility, mitochondrial regeneration. Another enzyme that we talk about a lot when we talk about NAD is BARP, which is the enzyme that uses NAD to build building blocks to fix damaged DNA. So when we talk about NAD, we also have to mention this very, very important enzyme, CD38. It's a surface enzyme or a surface molecule that is present in a lot of cells. It's really responsible in regulating a lot of cell function. So it is very important for your body, but overexpression and overactivity of the CD38 leads to a lot of overwhelming inflammation, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, tumors, and vice versa. So insulin resistance, inflammation will lead to an upregulation of CD38, which will lead to excess consumption of NAD. So arguably, CD38 is one of the major consumers of NAD. So these functions we talked about, an enzyme cofactor versus energy production, both consume NAD, but some of them consume NAD permanently, and some of them will put the NAD into a pathway called the salvage pathway that the body can utilize to bring back to NAD and recycle it and reuse it again. So the question is, does NAD drop as we age? The answer is yes, but that is not the main cause or the main reason for NAD depletion. Many other factors will result in NAD consumption, like inflammation, metabolic syndrome, toxic exposure, too much UV radiation, certain diseases and illnesses, and cancers. Remember, cancer cells love NAD as much as normal cells. So this really comes in very handy if you want to consider NAD infusion, because NAD infusion will fuel good cells and bad cells equally, if not more. Now, this will lead me to the next question. Now, is NAD supplementation the answer to the dropping NAD? In my world, in my practice, the answer is absolutely not, because you're just filling the bucket. You're just giving NAD. You're not fixing the problem why you are losing too much NAD, why you are not efficient in recycling NAD. Now here, the basic physiology also matters. So NAD is a very large molecule. When you receive NAD infusion, NAD injection, liposomal NAD, it is not going to just to cross over to the other side of the cell where it's supposed to be. Majority of that NAD, by the way, gets cleared by your body and it's getting expelled within a few hours. What is remaining will be broken down into smaller, simpler molecules that the cell can uptake and utilize to build NAD. So it is not a straightforward process. Now, there is some excess NAD that remains outside of the cells, and this is not the place where NAD should normally be. And this can create a cascade of events that will lead to inflammation, and it can fuel certain diseases. So you should be super careful on what to inject, what to take, and talk to somebody who can answer your questions accurately and tell you why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and not just walk into somewhere and say, hey, I want NAD just because my neighbor or my buddy took it and they felt better after that. Now, how about precursors like NR or NMN? Same problem. We're filling the bucket, but indirectly. The precursors are going to fill the void, are going to raise the pool of NAD, but they're not going to fix the problem. But they're certainly not inflammatory. And there are more studies on the precursors rather than the NAD itself. And I think more data is going to come out in the near future. But again, we have to target why you're losing a lot of NAD and how can we fix that. Now, this is where you need to talk to somebody who can help you in these issues. So you have to fix your inflammation, insulin resistance. You have to reduce your toxic exposure. do certain blood work to see what kind of exposure you've been through, what kind of blood levels of forever chemicals, for example, you have, pesticides, etc. How can we target that? Can we work on a certain form of detox? Do saunas help? We talked about saunas in the past. So we have to consider the big picture, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, why you're fatigued and tired. And if you feel good after an NAD infusion, that doesn't mean that we fix the problem. Yeah, we may have given you a little bit of energy, we may have dilated your blood vessels a little bit, but that's not by any means a fix of your problems. Also, using certain interventions like CD38 suppressors, like for example apigenin, showed some promise in reducing CD38 activity, which can lead to less NAD consumption. Apigenin can be found in parsley, chamomile, celery, thyme, basil, but it also can be compounded as a supplementation. Another compound that we use, and it's available commercially, it's 1-MNA. And that is a naturally occurring substance, and it's the result of NAD metabolism. But supplementing it also has shown a potential in reducing NAD consumption through certain enzymatic pathways. But it also has shown significant vascular protection and vascular health. So, the goal here is not to give you NAD and replace your NAD. The goal is to transform your body into a body that utilizes NAD more efficiently, preserving it and recycling it and reusing it. So if you're feeling tired with low energy, the answer should not be in you could have other issues that are causing these symptoms, like hormonal dysfunction, insulin resistance, overtraining, poor sleep, stress, toxic exposure, you name it. Please talk to somebody who can answer your questions accurately and give you the right intervention. And I always stress on this. Longevity is simple. It comes down to always improving your sleep, food, and stress, and the rest will follow. If you like today's video, subscribe and like, and share it with somebody who you think might find it beneficial. And see you next time.